Here's a question that should be obvious. Has the working class in the United States fared better or worse in the past 50 years? We know that inequality has risen in the United States. But a huge part of the political debate is, well, we know that inequality has risen, but everybody's better off. Everybody now, can buy more things, is more wealthy. They were in, say, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. But what's the fact of the matter? Now, that's a really important question that you don't need big data to answer. What you need is common sense to answer. Because if you look at data, then you'd look at the consumer price index, and what you'd see is that the average salaries of working class Americans have risen substantially since the 1970s. The price index includes things like food, clothing, basic necessities. What are the biggest expenses that determine whether you can join the middle class? There are two: housing, being a house owner, and education. Those have risen exponentially higher than the price index. So what you really need to check is whether working class Americans can buy homes, have a higher likelihood of buying homes and accessing the type of education that generates mobility compared to their parents in the 60s and the 70s, making this the first generation of Americans who really are worse off financially than their parents. In the sea of data, we can lose track of these basic truths, which are right now driving the reality of politics in the world's most powerful nation. So, take Democrats talking about incremental change and talking about how things are better off using macro data on the economy, and the disconnect between that and what most working class Americans feel, which is, no, but we're not better off. We don't care what the macroeconomic data tells us. If you ask the common sense question, what do I need to know in order to determine whether people are better off or not? And you don't use big data and machines, you use human thinking. I need to know whether it's easier or harder to buy a home and get an education. You can get at the answer. And it's that type of human thinking rather than machine learning, which we can be distracted from when we focus on big data and on what machines and algorithms can teach us.